already so hot and I'm just so glad I don't have to hold up any books in this video. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new around here, hello, welcome, my name is Charlotte. In today's video, as you can tell by the title, I've been inspired by Connor. He said he got good views, so I was like, I'm gonna do it. So as by the title, in today's video I'm going to be talking about books that I'm just not going to read, that I just have no interest in. Some of them are popular, and if you don't agree, that's not my problem. I think we've already established on BookTube that we all have different opinions. I don't think I really need to say much else apart from the fact that I'm about to talk about books that I don't want to read, and that some of them might shock you and some of them might, you know, you might not be very happy about. Without further ado, let's just jump straight in. So I'm going to get the most shocking one out of the way, because we were talking about this on our group chat and I was saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this video and I know there's a book on there that I think will shock everyone and, you know, I'll get cancelled for. And I was saying how I have this bookshelf on Goodreads, my kind of never going to read bookshelf, and that some of them were going to go over to the bookshelf to see what book I was talking about, but I was like, no, it's going to be a surprise. So I quickly went over to Goodreads just to get it off the shelf. So I'm just going to get this one out of the way because I feel like my group chat, I can kind of be waiting. They're going to be waiting for me to say which one it is. And that is, drumroll please, The Hunger Games. Time for me to be cancelled, time for you to unsubscribe. I know that most people on BookTube love this series and at least have read it. Hunger Games was really popular when I was like in year 8, so I'd have been like 12, 13, and it was really popular when we went on our German trip to Germany. I was in with it, you know, I was, because I'd seen the first film and I was in with the discussions and talking about who was like Team Peter and Team Gale. I never actually read the books and I could never be bothered to get around to reading the books. And you're probably thinking, you've had all these years to read, Charlotte, why have you not read them yet? And I just haven't been bothered. I think before I was like, oh, they're really trashy books, why would I want to read them? But as time has gone on, I've seen people talk about them and say that they're actually really good and it has like set the stones for a lot of that genre. But I just don't care, and I don't have the mental capacity to put any care towards it, if you know what I mean. I was thinking of doing a reading a Ballad on Songbirds and Snakes, that's the title, without having read the original trilogy kind of sort of vlog. But then I was like, why would I spend like £10 minimum on this book that I don't care about just for the views? It's got to the point now, what, it's nearly like 10 years later, and I just don't care. If I haven't got round to it yet, I don't think I'm gonna ever get round to it. I did own like a charity shop version of the first book and I was going to read it, but I never did. The next book is a very popular like high fantasy, adult fantasy series. It's very popular because of a TV show, and I tried to watch the TV show. I watched one season and I got bored and gave up, and every time I've tried to rewatch it I've just gone, I don't like it, I don't care. This is why I will never read the book series, because first, the books are massive, and B, do I care? No. And that is Game of Thrones. I watched the first season and yeah, when I was watching it I might have like got into it. I got to the beginning of the second season and I was like, do I want to watch this? No. Tried to rewatch it for like uni and stuff, but just couldn't. So I will never read this series because the books are big. If I can't watch the TV show, I doubt I'll be able to read the books. So I know a lot of people love these books and love the TV show, even if like the last season was crap. Sorry, Game of Thrones, go and be liked by the people because I just don't care. The next series I feel like I don't need to read because I know the plot already and I know the books well enough from other people who've read them, and that's 50 Shades of Grey. We'll never read 50 Shades of Grey. I thought I'd just get this one out of the way. I'll never read this series because why would I? It is just basically bad literature, bad fan fiction. I can just watch the films, and even then I don't want to watch the films. Like I think that's with the films. I don't know if I've watched all 3, but I feel like I have. I remember watching the first one and giving up like half an hour near the end because it was boring. With the other 2, I feel like I haven't seen them, but at the same time I have, and that shows a lot about the series, the fact that it is so predictable and so well known in culture and so obvious that I feel like I've watched them even though I don't know if I have. But I'm not going to subject myself to bad literature. The next book is one that I decided I was never going to read like years ago, because I read the first 2 books in the series because it was a very popular YA adaptation as well, so that kind of gives a little hint, series. And I read the first book and I really enjoyed it. I read the second book and was like, yeah, this is good. And with the films, the first one again was good, the second one was a bit the last 2 films, because they split the last one into 2, didn't hear anybody talk about it. And I heard about the third book and how a lot of people didn't like it, and I was like, oh, I can't be bothered. And that's Allegiant. I feel like I'm really throwing this back to like olden days. I've never finished this series, I never finished the Divergent series, and I don't know if I can be bothered, just because I've heard really bad things about the third book and I don't care and I've forgotten everything about it. Honestly, do not remember a thing that happened in Divergent. Like I was thinking about it, I think because Connor either talked about Divergent in a video or something, and I was just thinking, I don't remember anything that happens in that, apart from the whole faction thing. I don't remember what happens. I never did finish a series and I never will, because why would I, like years later? The next few books are all by the same author, and I think I'll just get these ones out of the way, and there's a reason why I'm not going to be reading these books, even though they were very popular in terms of like YA contemporaries, but I just don't feel like I'm ever gonna read them, and that is Eleanor and Park, Attachments and Landline by Rainbow Rowell. Basically all of Rainbow Rowell's books. I read Carry On. I read Carry On even though I hadn't read Fangirl, and I enjoyed it back in the day. And then when Wayward Son was coming out, I was excited because I liked Carry On, but then obviously everything came out about Rainbow Rowell, which I didn't know about, and because I never read Eleanor and Park, I didn't know about it from reading it. When I was hearing all this stuff, I was like, do I even actually care about the Carry On series anymore? I have unhauled pretty much all her books. I did have pretty much all her books. I bought them from charity shops, but I've now just got rid of all of them because I don't need them if I'm not going to read them. And I was keeping Fangirl because I was like, oh, I could read Fangirl because as I've read Carry On, you know, it makes sense. But even now, I don't care. Pick up some better YA contemporary books, kids. And don't support the Eleanor and Park movie when it comes out, because I've just heard that that's happening, and yikes. Go and support some other YA contemporary books that centre around Asian characters that are actually represented well because they're written by Asian authors. I don't think Fangirl's on this list, but basically any of her books I'm just not going to read. The next series, okay, there's 2 books, and the second book kind of came out last year, I think, and I always debated reading the first book because I did enjoy the film, but now I will get to that in a sec. I don't want to read books by a paedophile. Call Me By Your Name. I will never read these books. If I'm gonna consume this story in any way, I'll just find a way to not give the money if you're watching the film. Like, I like this film. I do. And I'll talk about that in a sec. But I was debating reading the books because I did like the film, but I'm just not because he's a paedophile. Saw this film probably a bit later than everybody else did. It was, I don't know, it was maybe like a month later just because it wasn't being shown anywhere that, you know, I lived. But eventually I went to see it on campus at university, and I loved it. I did. I have to admit that I did love it, and I did fall in love with it. And until recently, it has been kind of one of my favourite films, but I have recently kind of evaluated my thoughts and opinions and how I view this film and how I interact with this film, because yes, it's got Timothée Chalamet in it being amazing and giving a great performance, and I love him, but that shouldn't excuse the fact that this story is written by a paedophile, and that a lot of the stuff that happens in these books is his personification and his justification for his actions and the way he lives his life. I know there is the debate that, you know, over in Italy the age consent is 16 or something like that, so, you know, Elio being 17 isn't that bad, but he's still under 18. And even though this film, as I said, it is beautiful, it is shot so, it is a beautiful film, and that's like, as a film student, it's hard for me to just counteract that. I'm slowly trying to tell myself that not that I can enjoy the film, but I can appreciate it for a film. I think why I do also hold some feelings toward this film is because of Elio, and I do feel like I relate to him, and the way he's presented, you know, is helped by Timothy. He is such a great character, and I feel like his innocence I do relate to, but the fact that he is innocent, he's still quite an innocent human being and child, it's difficult. It's a sticky, difficult situation. This is not me saying, oh, it's fine because Timothée Chalamet is in the film, you can still like it and still not care about the paedophile. But I am trying to work on liking the film less and having the film on such a high pedestal, if you know what I mean. I've ranted. Let's move on. You get the drift. The next book kind of series is one that I have been thinking I was going to read for a while, but I did see someone I know from BookTube kind of talk about or post something about how this author is a little bit problematic, and it kind of made me go, do I really want to read these books? I know they are a hyped and kind of popular series on BookTube, but do I care about that enough that I'll just excuse any of the stuff, you know, any of the problematic stuff that's come out about them? At the end of the day, it's not going to affect my life. I think there was always a TV show, it's always been that thing like, oh, there's a TV show in the works, but like for 5 years. Basically the Raven cycle. The premise does intrigue me kind of, even though I don't feel like I remember that much about it, but it is about this like elusive group of boys called the Raven Boys or something like that, and then this girl, I don't know, it's like a boarding school setting, yeah, I think so. And that always did intrigue me, and I think because it was so hyped on BookTube, I was like, oh, I'll read it. The thing is, with some of these, I never know what's going to happen in the future, so there could be a time when I do read it and I'm lying to myself here that I'll never read them. I can't say that, but for now I'm not. Some of the stuff that I did hear about Maggie Stiefvater is apparently she did make a racist joke in one of her books about the popular white male shit, and that her representation of her non-white characters in her books are quite stereotypical. So at this point, if I was going to read it, I would have done it by now. The next 2 books are by the same author, and his works and his series are really popular in terms of like high adult fantasy, and they are highly rated, but 2 reasons why I'm not going to read them is, Once again, I've heard controversy. And reason 2 is they're big, high adult fantasies, which kind of intimidate me, so I'll never probably get around to reading them because I'll keep putting them off. So what's the point of going, yes, I'm going to read them, when I just know I probably won't? And that is just books by Brandon Sanderson. So you've got The Final Empire, which I think that was the one I was most likely going to read, or if I was ever going to read them, I would have gone for that one. Or The Way of Kings, and I think just both of these are just so big and so thick. They intimidate me and I don't think I'm ever going to, and because they're high adult fantasy, that kind of puts me off even more. I did also hear that I think Brandon Sanderson also supported some stuff that J.K. Rowling did. Apparently when J.K. Rowling came out about saying that Dumbledore was gay, he kind of wrote some really homophobic things. So just from that, I'm not really bothered, and because they're so big, the intimidation is just going to stop me from ever reading them. I do know that they're loved, and I know people who have read them and love them and think they're just amazing world building, but I just don't care. And the final series that I just don't think I'm ever going to read. But out of any of these, do I think I will read in the future? Like if I had to, this would be the more likely one. With this, I just think it's past its time for me, and I just don't think I'll ever get around to it. I know it's hyped, and I know it might be getting like either a film or TV show, so I can consume it that way anyway, and that's the Selection series by Kiera Cass. I've had that on my TBR for so long because it's an OG backlist booktube loved series, and I think the premise, I was always like, yeah, the premise excites me, but now looking back on it, I'm just, it's meant to be some sort of different version of like Miss America or something, like I don't know, like some beauty pageant thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I feel like it is. I could be saying it's about beauty pageants when it's not, but that sort of thing creeps me out in real life. Even though I think the books are quite small, I think the series is at least 4 books long, so I just don't care, and I just don't think I'll ever get around to it if I haven't already, because it is an OG book series on booktube. If I wanted to read them, I would have got around to them by now. But as I said, if I had to pick any of these books off this list that I would read, I think this one would be one that I could see myself reading if the world came to an end and I, you know, someone forced me to read it. But out of choice, I just don't think I'm ever going to read it. But that is it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree with me on any of these, or if you agree on me, or any books that you're just never going to read, and they could be some that I love. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, turn my notification bell on so you know when I'm next going to post. But with that all said and done, I'll see you all in my next video.